Tansei. In the following work Continuum, I use color to create cyclical time in that there are no definite beginnings or endings. The work represents my past, present, and future, where the color palette informs the work through three main color choices of blue, yellow, and pink. The blue is supposed to represent the past, from my memory of the land to the color of our planet from outer space. The yellow represents the present, with the main figure in the artwork representing my presence throughout the work. Then the color pink represents the future and all that it can entail, from everything that I want to achieve, from representing my language and incorporating syllabics in modern spaces. Each color resonates with me in ways that are personal. Blue happens to be my favorite color. The yellow I use in here represents the light yellow in eggs, which I view as a representation of myself. And then pink has a lot of preconceived notions surrounding it, which you can say about the future as well. It's through working in such a limited color palette that was the first for me, and it helped immensely in figuring out the final color choices, which personally resonated for me. These three color choices are represented all throughout the work to show that time is a cycle, that everything that makes up myself is shaped by my past, present, and future, regardless of where I stand on this continuum.
Language is quite literally a method of communication, and when I think about how art is traditionally communicated, there seems to be a systemic issue of accessibility. What I chose to do with the work I produced was create avenues of translatability beyond the means of sight. The work in my thesis exhibition was a culmination of not only my own understanding of the need for more access to the arts, but the desire to allow people to experience what I felt, both physically and emotionally, with regards to my work. Choosing a very traditional medium like plaster and expanding the experience of it with touch and sound also challenged the institution itself to accept a broader definition of access. By doing this, awareness is being brought to the art community that art is so much more than what we see, and accessibility to the other sensory experiences needs to be more readily addressed.
Trying to conceptually wrap my head around explaining my experience as a queer person was challenging. To navigate through this topic, I wanted to focus on two main ideas: my mental health and my journey to self-acceptance. The painting Defeated visually explains what overthinking feels like. Overthinking was a huge hurdle for me because it was constantly there. The result of overthinking led me to feel defeated. The complicated aspects of my emotions were an important element in the topic of mental health. To convey the imagery in the work, I was inspired by the artist movement action painting, or formerly known as abstract expressionism, in the 1940s to the 1960s. The work Defeated uses unconventional mediums like baby oil, drywall compound, wire, and hot glue to reference the debris built up over time from my eternal demons. I could never determine when I could be free from my thoughts. I learned an important lesson. I had to let go and accept myself to move forward in my life healthily. As I mentioned previously, I had a heartwarming experience with my granny. She is my great-grandma, and she is 86 years old. We had this connection through the work Defeated. She herself has had periods of depression, and when she saw this work, she told me her eyes filled with tears because she could relate to the piece. To demonstrate and express my journey of self-acceptance, I integrated an audio piece and installation, The Open Closet, into my exhibition. In the Student University Gallery, I created a separate space from the rest of the exhibition because I wanted to be transparent about my identity. I wanted to create an intimate experience between myself and the viewer by speaking to each participant through an audio recording in the space. There are casual undertones used in the construction of the installation by removing the curtain between the exhibition and the installation as a metaphor for an open closet. The open closet was important in displaying my language through family heirlooms, lighting, sound, and smell. When I started to plan the layout of the installation, my main goal was to have it be authentic and comfortable. Alongside the space, I created a vulnerable audio recording that expressed the struggles I faced with the journey of my self-acceptance. Adding personal possessions led me to reflect that I can be happy again and free. Each piece has its value because it opens me up emotionally to the viewer, in which they get a glimpse of who I truly am. From this work, I got excellent responses. My professor, Shannon Gaboy, a psychology professor in Brandon University, reached out to me. She told me that she particularly likes the artwork, The Open Closet. She thought that it was so clever and so interesting. Another memory that came from this work was my cousins who came to the show. I brought in a homemade album that was made by my grandma. The album was full of family photographs. They flipped through that album for some time. It was great to see that interaction with my work because I wanted the space to be a place for others to feel comfortable.